No audio.
All right, everyone, welcome. We've got a great session ahead, but first, take a moment to go through the disclosures. We'll be jumping in very shortly. So today, I want to dig into a company that I think a lot of people in this space are sleeping on. It's not a flashy name, it doesn't show up on the meme stock radars, and you won't hear it mentioned on most earnings calls, even though it quietly touches some of the most important technology being built right now. The company is SWATech. They're a French semiconductor materials firm. They trade on Euronext Paris under the ticker SOI. And for US investors, you can access them on the OTC markets as SELOI or SLOIF. It's around $4 billion USD market cap as of April 2026. Let's get into it. So first things first, what does SWATech actually do? They don't make chips. They make what chips sit on. Specifically, they design and manufacture engineered semiconductor wafers called silicon on insulator, or SOI substrates. Think of it like this. If the chip is the engine, SWATech makes the specialized material the engine is built from. And here's the thing that makes this interesting. They control roughly 70% of the global SOI wafer market. That's not a comfortable lead, that's a near monopoly. And it's built on top of a proprietary process they co-developed with the French research institute CEA-Leti called Smart Cut trademark. They've got around 4,300 patents protecting it, and nobody has been able to replicate it at their quality and yield. That's the foundation. Now, SWATech isn't a one-product company. They've got a really interesting range that spans several major growth verticals. On the mobile side, they make RF SOI wafers that go into the front-end modules of essentially every 5G smartphone. They also make POI, piezoelectric on insulator, which is the substrate for next-generation SAW filters. 10 customers are already in volume production on POI, with another 13 in qualification. That's a pipeline. On the automotive and industrial side, they supply power SOI for EV inverters and chargers. Plus their Smart SiC trademark technology in partnership with ST Microelectronics for silicon carbide applications in electric vehicles. And then there's the segment that I think has the most interesting long-term story. And that's their photonics SOI and FD SOI business for AI infrastructure and edge computing. This is the part that really caught my attention. As AI models get bigger and data centers get denser, the industry is hitting a hard wall. You simply cannot move enough data fast enough over copper wires at acceptable power levels anymore. The answer the whole industry is converging on is silicon photonics. Basically, moving data using light instead of electricity inside the data center. And the specialized wafer that silicon photonics gets built on? That's SWATech's photonics SOI substrate. NVIDIA just launched its first co-packaged optics products, Spectrum X and Quantum X, and Broadcom, Marvell, and Intel all have CPO roadmaps in motion too. SWATech has been building photonics SOI capability for 2 decades. Their wafers feature ultra-thin top silicon layers of around 220 nanometers and a precisely engineered buried oxide structure that produces the low-loss optical waveguides you need to make this work at scale. They're essentially sole sourced for this at volume. That's a structural position that gets stronger, not weaker, as AI infrastructure spending accelerates.
Let me just quickly talk about why the moat is real. Shin-Etsu and Sumco are the giants of the silicon wafer world, but they're in bulk polished wafers. SWATech owns the engineered substrate lane. The Smart Cut process involves hydrogen ion implantation, molecular bonding, and precision layer transfer that took 20+ years and massive R&D investment to perfect. Once a foundry like GlobalFoundries, Samsung, Tower Semiconductor, or Intel qualifies a SWATech wafer into a process node, the switching costs are brutal. We're talking multi-quarter requalification cycles. That's an enormous structural lock-in. Add to that their global ecosystem of research partnerships, CEA-Leti, MIT's Microsystems Technology Laboratories, SEMI-SOFIA, and you get a company where the competitive advantages compound over time.
Okay, almost there. Let's go through the growth picture and let's look at the numbers directionally. The global SOI wafer market was valued around $1.3 billion in 2024 and is projected to reach over $2.5 billion by 2029, a compounded growth rate of roughly 15% per year. Soitec's own addressable market is expected to grow 3 times between 2022 and 2030 as engineered substrates get adopted across more applications. Management has articulated a medium-term ambition to reach $2 billion in revenue with EBITDA margins of around 40%. If they get there, you're looking at a business with $800 million of EBITDA from a company with deep structural advantages. The growth drivers are stacked: 5G device upgrades globally, accelerating EV penetration, and the AI data center build-out, which is still in very early innings for optical interconnects. Okay, let's talk about some risks now. Alright, I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't walk through the risks clearly. The automotive and industrial segment has had a rough stretch. Power SOI volumes have been under pressure from the global chip inventory correction and weaker EV demand in certain markets. Soitec also withdrew its forward guidance last year, which is never a great signal on management confidence. There's a CEO transition underway too. Pierre Barnabé is being replaced, and any leadership change brings execution uncertainty. Customer concentration is a real structural risk. The revenue base depends heavily on a small number of global foundries. And on the SiC side, they're up against much more established players like Wolfspeed. These are real headwinds that definitely matter.
One more dimension worth considering. Soitec is, by any rational analysis, a strategic acquisition target. This is a near-monopoly engineered substrate business with irreplaceable intellectual property, a global footprint, and deep integration into the supply chains of the world's most critical semiconductor applications. The French government would need to bless any deal, given the National Strategic Asset designation. But potential acquirers aren't hard to imagine. Shin-Etsu, Sumco, Global Wafers on the wafer consolidation side. Applied Materials, or LAM, on the equipment to materials vertical integration angle. ST Microelectronics and Intel both have deep existing relationships and clear strategic rationale. So that's Soitec, a French deep tech company with a monopoly-level position in engineered semiconductor substrates, sitting directly in the path of 3 of the most important technology trends of this decade: 5G, electrification, and AI infrastructure. The near-term picture has some bumps, but the structural story is one of the more compelling ones I've looked at in this space in a while. As always, none of this is financial advice. Do your own research. Drop any questions in the comments, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.